Hello friends, for today's video I'm going to be doing a library room tour, so it's primarily going to be a bookshelf tour, but I also wanted to show you this room, my setup, that way if you yourself are somebody who is wanting to make videos, or maybe you just want for your own personal knowledge to know about certain lighting or certain setup type of things, then hopefully this will provide that information for you. I'll start with a couple of really basic things that I pretty much always have nearby. So one thing is I pretty much always have my adult sippy cup. I always have something in here because I get parched while I am chatting about books with all of you because I chat too much. So that quenches my thirst. And then I also, because I record all my videos on my phone, I always have a little thing here to wipe the camera lens, and I have an adjustable desk that I'll show you where everything is set up. That's how I'm able to reach for all this stuff. But I have this little thing here to wipe my phone's camera lens, but then also to clean my glasses, because I have noticed that sometimes when I'm editing, I realize that the reason that it doesn't look as crisp is not because the video quality is less than, but because my glasses are dirty, and so it makes everything look foggier. But I guess this is from Glasses USA, which works out really well because they're sponsoring this video. A big thank you to them though for working with me. I do use this little slip, by the way, to clean my phone and my glasses, and it works so much better than a shirt. It even usually says it says don't use your t-shirt, so that is true. Don't use your t-shirt. This works much better. But regardless, a big thank you to glassusa.com for working with me on today's video. I was using them long before I was ever working with them. When I was in college, I majored in music, and you have to read often really, really tiny notes, and I was always straining my eyes. And I remember knowing that I needed to go to the eye doctor, but dreading it because I just knew that if I had to get a new pair of glasses, it was going to be so expensive, and I was so broke in college. And then when I got out of college, I was teaching private violin lessons, and I started my channel. So then I'm straining my eyes, looking at electronics, looking at books, and then also continuing to look at music. And I knew my eyes had gotten worse because it's been years, and I thought I need to do something different, and that's why I decided to try glassusa.com out. And I'm so glad I did, because they were so much more affordable than a lot of other glasses retailers. They ship directly to you, which, me being rather antisocial when it comes to meeting people and talking to people face to face, was such a nice thing to have as an option. And speaking of options, they have so many different options to choose from when it comes to the style of the lenses, the color, the shape. There's just so much, and I have a couple different pairs. I have this pair that I'm wearing pretty much all the time because I have a matching fetish, and I always think that the clear just goes with everything, and so it's very satisfying to me. And then you can also get prescription sunglasses. I love my prescription sunglasses. They're so nice. They're such a nice neutral brown shade, and I just think that the shape is big enough for me. And I was talking about having my eyes strained before, and a nice thing is they offer blue light blocking lenses, which are great if you work on computers a lot or just with electronics in general. And if you're nervous about the glasses not really looking the way that you would hope they would, I completely understand that. That was my reservation before I tried them, because I did not want to have to deal with getting the glasses and then not really liking them and then returning them and then having to get a new pair. And they understand that. So they have a try-on feature where now you actually can just look into your webcam and you can move around and it will show you what the glasses look like. In general, absolutely love glassesusa.com. I'm really grateful that they continue to work with me because I really have always enjoyed their service, and I know how important it is to find glasses you like, to have them delivered to you, but then also have them be a more affordable price.
GlassesUSA.com is offering a great exclusive discount on top of any coupon code they currently have on the website just for all of you. It's only available for 24 hours, so if you click on the link in the top of my description box, you'll get all the details.
So I'll get around to showing you my essentials on my desk, the desk itself, the lighting, the microphone, all of that, what I use to be able to film all this on my phone. But also, of course, the star of the show, the bookshelves. I know a lot of you have been wanting to see a bookshelf tour. Before I jump into that, the actual panning over the shelves and talking through them a little bit, just a few notes about the shelves themselves. So I did recently get new shelves. The previous ones I'd had, a lot of you have asked before, where did you get those shelves? I really like the color, I like the look. They were from Walmart's website. They're not the best, but they were very inexpensive, and they served their purpose for about 7 years, and I did not actually get rid of them. They're just in a different room now, and these ones were the ones that I feel like everybody gets, the Billy bookcase from IKEA. But the reason I got these in particular is because the space that I am filming in right now, from the wall that's over here up to the door that's over here, these fit perfectly. Like, as in maybe a centimeter left, barely anything. And they also, the height of the ceiling was perfect to have the extension on the top. So these shelves come with 6 shelves per bookcase, and then you can get that extension, and there's about this much space between the very top of the extension and the ceiling. So it truly feels for me like floor to ceiling shelves, which I've always wanted. The ones I had before had 5 shelves per bookcase, and they were kind of short. And while the shelves were adjustable, I just felt like you couldn't get as many books in as I would have liked. So I really like having 7 shelves per bookcase now. And I will have these ones that I got linked. They're just black. Also, while I'm just primarily going to focus on these shelves, I mentioned a second ago that I still have my Walmart shelves. They're quite damaged from water damage because we live in an old mobile home that needs a lot of work, and we are slowly getting things fixed, but you know, it's expensive. And also insurance companies are very frustrating. But we have a lot of storms that are pretty intense in Arizona, and a few of them have done some damage. And we had a lot of water come through, and it did damage those other shelves. So there's a ton of water damage. They don't look very good. So I'm just going to focus on the nice shelves. I'm not going to go to the other ones, but I do have other books in other places in the house. So if there's something that you've heard me talk about, you know I like, for example, Legends and Lattes, it's not in this room, and it's because it's with those other shelves. They're just kind of gross looking. So we're just going to focus on the pretty shelves. Starting with an overall view of the room and the shelves, you can see right away what I was saying about how perfectly they fit. So they're basically right up against that wall, all the way up to the very edge of the door frame. And then they go all the way up, and you can see the tiny, tiny little bit of space between the shelf and the ceiling. And like I was saying before, these are the kinds of shelves where the bookcase comes with 6, and then you can add that 7th on. But I'm gonna start with the room first and the general setup for when I'm recording. That desk is more so for storage. It is nice because my webcam and such things I can keep in those drawers, and anything else that I might need. This little ottoman, I put notebooks in. That way, if I need something, I can take it out of there, but oftentimes I'm putting my feet up on the ottoman. And then the lights, when I have guests over, I usually will just put those in another room, put them away in a closet, but I generally leave them out because this room is sort of separate from most of the rest of the house. So it allows me some semblance of an office space. It's not private because there's no door here and the trim's all busted. Just fun old house stuff, including this really old carpet. But anyway, that desk we just have kind of in this corner, and then this is one of the adjustable desks. So I'll go ahead and show you. It's really nice for if you have any reason to want an adjustable desk. I really like it. It's very easy to set up. So I have one setting that's taller for when I'm recording my videos, and then I have another when I'm doing collabs or if I'm doing sprints on Patreon or anything like that. Then I have it much lower just based off of where the webcam sits with the computer versus where this phone sits when I'm filming. So it's really nice to have it adjustable. I used to stack notebooks or whatever I could, and then I would set my phone on top of that. And I was using one of those stands that you typically find in bathrooms for towels. So I'm glad that I finally have a desk. And this I only got at the very end of last year. So a lot of these are things that I've only recently got, even though I've been doing my channel for years at this point. But anyway, I really like the adjustable desk. It does have a plug that I just wrap around because I don't really like cords being super loose. And then I have something over there that allows me to plug the lights in. It allows me to plug my computer charger. If I'm doing, like I was saying before, a collaborative video, I need to have the computer charging while I'm doing that. Otherwise it runs the risk of dying in the middle of those recordings. The chair, my older videos, not that old, but a little bit ago, it was this very cute little old chair with wooden slats, and it was so bad on my back. And I already have some back stuff from playing violin for years. I really had to talk myself into getting this chair because I just don't like spending a lot of money on stuff. And if you're curious, I will have this chair linked. I do really like it. It's actually a gaming chair. And generally speaking, gaming chairs tend to be better on your back. They're more comfortable because they know that you are likely going to be in that chair for long periods of time. For the little bits of equipment when I'm recording, so those little old stands, I use one of them, I'll scoot it over and I'll put the microphone on. And then if I'm doing, like I was saying before, videos on my computer with my webcam for collaborative things, I'll move the microphone up here. And then sometimes when my husband joins, he'll actually take those to the other room and then he'll use them. But generally speaking, I use one of them for the microphone, and then the other one I often have right over here, and I use it to have the books that I'm going to be mentioning for the video, that sort of thing. This is what I use to put my phone in, just one of those little handheld type of things. This button allows you to adjust it, which is really nice. I put tape on the desk so I have a general idea of where to put this. That way it's fairly consistent every single time I sit down to record. This is the microphone I use. To plug it into my phone directly, there's a cord that goes here, and then I have this adapter that has, so it goes right into the USB, and then the lightning end will go right into my phone. This is the remote for the lights, of course the little cloth like I was saying. This is for whenever I do record things on my computer, I oftentimes need to plug in this, I need to plug in a webcam, and I need to plug in my computer charger. So I need something that allows me to plug in all of these different things. This is very, very, very helpful. Usually always have a notebook around. You'll sometimes see my eyes darting, and it's because I usually will prop this up, and then I might have a few notes here and there. For example, if I'm doing a tag video, I'll have the questions listed, those sorts of things. And then, like I was jokingly saying before, but also being very serious, my adult sippy cup, because I pretty much always need to have something to drink. And then usually I have my highlighters and some pencils so that as I'm going through, I can cross things off. I've always been more of a paper planner kind of person. Notebooks, I'm just not good with the digital stuff because I already am looking at my phone constantly by editing and recording and then having to look at my computer for other things. So I just prefer to have the rest of that on a notebook as opposed to something digital. Backtracking now though and getting to the part that I feel like everybody actually cares about, which is the bookshelves. So the very, very top is a mix of some books I've read and then some that are on my TBR. I do have a very silly little blue ceiling fan. Like I said, this is old. Look how old that fan is. But anyway, I apologize because I know it's making it kind of fuzzy there at the top. I'll try to hold my hand here so you can see. The top shelf, like I was saying, I won't probably go in depth with that because it's a mix of some books that I've read and some books that are on my TBR that I need to get around to. But almost the entire rest of the bookshelves, I've read what's on them. So I'll go ahead and give you an overview of the various different bookcases and kind of describe how I organize them. Every now and then I switch it up, and obviously sometimes sequels will come out and then I'll have to change things a little bit. Pre-orders will come in, that sort of thing. But for the most part, I'm pretty happy with this. And it's actually getting to a point where it's hard to decide what to put on these shelves because there's just so many things that I really love. And I know this is goofy, but I love consistency. So I really like when things of a similar size are all on the shelves together. So trying to fit it together, it feels like a puzzle, which I kind of have fun with. So I'll go ahead and start with the far left here. I actually do, for the most part, have things by size going horizontally, but just for ease here, and so that the light's not in the way, I'll go ahead and go by bookcase. So here at this top shelf, not very top like I was saying before, but going here, we have a lot of the tall paperbacks that I have. So you'll see I have my Arrows trilogy over here, and then some more Voldemar that I need to get around to. We have Bloodsong by Anthony Ryan. Scooting over, we have some more Anthony Ryan that is very high priority. I need to get around to these, hopefully at least the Pariah this year, maybe reread Bloodsong and finally get around to some of the other ones in that series. We also have a couple of the Orbit tall paperbacks. The reason that I like this beyond just the height is I also like that a lot of times it leads to things by the same publisher and things by the same author being next to each other.
there are some examples, and the John Gwynne book, sorry, focusing on my finger, the John Gwynne book up here, you'll see I have a tiny frustration. But from there, we have, oh, this series is so underhyped, but Engines of Empire and Engines of Chaos. The Heroes randomly, kind of by itself. I'm waiting for more of my broken binding editions to come in. Then we have the floppy paperbacks of Stormlight. I do have 2 of Rhythm of War because that one is an arc. And then we have these newer Mistborn editions, and then Monsters We Defy, which I also think is a pretty underhyped book. And then here, I was saying before that it often leads to publishers being together, and that is the case for this shelf. And I gotta say, this publisher makes some of the most beautiful editions. A lot of these are Fairy Loot special editions. A lot of them are UK specifically. I believe that is a UK-based publisher. But it ends up making for such a pretty shelf. So most of these, like I said, are Fairy Loot editions. I do have a lot of that series. A lot of different editions on the shelf because it's like my guilty pleasure series, the Once Upon a Broken Heart. I don't know why, I just think it's so fun. But anyway, we have City of Dusk. I'm very curious about the sequel that should be coming out this year. This Vicious Grace, same thing, the sequel should be coming out this year. This is a new release from this year. Already kind of went over that. These, the Elizabeth Lim books, this whole set is so pretty. These all kind of exist within the same world, but they are different stories. So I like that they have a similar look, but they're a little bit different. This one in particular was the UK edition, and then these were the special editions that came that matched the other ones over here. And I just really like how they all look together. The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, loved it. My husband got that for me for Christmas. UK Strange the Dreamer, one of my favorites of all time. I also have lots of editions of that on the shelf. The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea. Then we have the new City of Nightmares. Belladonna, that sequel should be coming out this year, and I'll have to find room for it. And then Last Tale of the Flower Bride, Fairy Loot edition. Going from that shelf now down to this one. This is a bit of an exception to the publisher rule. It's actually kind of a mix of a lot of different things. And you can see, ugh, it irritates me, but the heights are a little different. But anyway, so we have the old Cruel Prince. These were the Barnes & Noble editions. So not super old, but they're not as fancy as the LitJoy Crate editions, which are gorgeous. So beautiful. The artwork in those is incredible. We have a special edition of Vespertine. We have historical fiction Burial Rites, which is fantastic, but very sad. Then we have a Lady's Guide to Fortune Hunting, which I thought was just absolutely adorable. Thank you to the person who recommended that. 2 editions of Godkiller, because I loved it so much. One of my favorite things I've read so far this year. This edition of Babel, I just want to say really quick that this was an alternate sleeve, and I was really impressed with how it came out. I think it looks even prettier in person. So for those of you that like Babel, I just think that that sleeve is so beautiful. I'm glad I got it. It's very academic looking, which I think is very fitting to the book. Witch's Heart, absolutely love it. Then we get into some of the different Strange the Dreamers that I have. These are the Alcrate editions without their sleeves, because I think that they are so pretty without their sleeves. And then we have just the regular American editions. And then we have LitJoy Crate. Once again, they make really beautiful special editions. And the reason I have so many Strange the Dreamers, one, it's one of my favorite series of all time, but every now and then I do videos where I go through a lot of different editions of a book or series, and Strange the Dreamer should be getting one hopefully this year. Going down from there, we have kind of a mix of manga and paperbacks, as you can see. So we have a bunch of Spy Family, and then over on this side we have a bunch of Witch Hat Atelier. Those are all the volumes that are currently out, and I love both of those series. Makes me a little sad that when I'm filming you can't really see Spy Family. I just wish it could be represented. And then we have the UK Sandersons, the older ones. I think the newer ones are now a lot taller. We have the UK editions of the Shadow of the Fox trilogy, which is a lot of fun. And then we have some more Elizabeth Lim. So this particular Elizabeth Lim copy, Brittany from Books with Brittany actually got it for me. And even though it's the same as the artwork itself is the same as the ones I was showing up there, the colors are a lot different. And I think it's so pretty. So I decided to keep it, one, because it was a gift and I thought it was really sweet, but then also because I just think it's so, so beautiful. And then Spinning Silver. I was talking about how I should be doing the editions style video for Strange the Dreamer. I did one for Spinning Silver, so you're going to see some different editions of this on the shelves as well. And then Sword of Kaigen. Oh my gosh, who else is excited for the new edition that Kickstarter is doing? I can't wait for that copy to come out. But in the meantime, we have this one here. Going from there down to this shelf, we have the new Kelly Barnhill book, The Crane Husband, which I've talked about quite a bit recently since it's a new release. Really enjoyed it. Some Cinda Williams Chima, another edition of Spinning Silver. And then Song of the Lioness, one of my favorite series growing up. I absolutely loved it. So that's a bind up of it. Another edition of The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea, because I really liked that story. I thought it was really sweet and lovely. And also all the editions are just so, so beautiful. Full Metal Alchemist next, one of the greatest series of all time. And then Half a Soul, that is specifically the Fairy Loot edition without its sleeve. And this is another one where when you see the front cover, I just think that looks so pretty, so fitting for the story. The bottom of this bookcase, we have Fireborn, the Aurelian Cycle, also absolutely amazing series, one of my favorite trilogies of all time. Nettle and Bone, fantastic standalone. Descendant of the Crane, as well as some other books by this author, who I think is a fairly underhyped author. I think she does really interesting things. They're maybe not the best for mass appeal, but I respect that she always does something different with her stories. There's always something unexpected. So I have a few of her books there. The Magic Steeped in Poison duology, Song of Silver, Flame Like Night, a new release from this year. This is the regular edition and the Barnes & Noble edition. Some more Elizabeth Lim. These are the US editions. And then Jade Fire Gold, we have the Ash Princess trilogy by Laura Sebastian, as well as the first book in the new series, and then Last Tale of the Flower Bride. I was mentioning before that Shadow of the Gods, I have something with its sequel that makes it so that they're not in the same place. The same can be said for Castles in Their Bones, which I'll explain soon. Oh my gosh, I have such a complaint when it comes to from book 1 to book 2. So really quick, I'm just going to show you. This will make sense later. That's the cover of the first one. It's not my favorite art style, but regardless, that's the cover for the first one. So we will discuss in a moment why I'm sounding so annoyed. Moving over from the bottom of that one to the bottom of this bookcase, we have quite a bit of middle grade over here. Keeper of the Lost Cities. I haven't read this whole series, but it's one that I want to eventually read more of. So I've found quite a few of them at my local bookstore, and I figured I'd snag them. You can actually see I forgot to take the sticker off of that one's spine. And then we have Amari, as well as the second and third books in the Bartimaeus trilogy. I had ordered the first one. I'd ordered all of them in hardback, and the first one was a different edition than those, which was frustrating. So at some point, I will hopefully be able to find the first one to match those. It's a very underhyped, in my opinion, middle grade series, but I really liked it when I was growing up. And then we have some Marie Lu over here. And then I skipped over this part just because it's not quite like those, but these two are actually French editions, and I just think they're so beautiful. They look so cool without their sleeves. It's for Enchantment of Ravens and Sorcery of Thorns. And then from there, we have a shelf that's a little bit newer. These over here would be the hardbacks of The Girl from the Other Side. Those editions are beautiful. That story is so, so good. Very minimalistic in its style. And also it's very abstract. You don't quite know what's happening, but I think it's great. And then we have one of the foreign editions of Mistborn. We have Vagabond here, and then Shades of Magic, specifically the Juniper books. That's the book sleeves for what are typically the US hardbacks. You can take the US hardback sleeves off and put those on. Oh, hi, Luna. Hello. Are you coming to help with the bookshelf tour? I see your tail wagging. So Luna's usually in here with me when I'm recording. She is usually either laying right there, or she is laying over here in the corner behind the chair. She is currently licking me. If you hear that, I hope it's not too gross sounding. Luna, can you not? Thank you. Okay. From there, we have what is kind of my YA paperbacks, and oh my gosh, she's right by my face. Hello, hello, thank you for the kisses. So we have
the YA paperbacks, some romance paperbacks, and then of course Witcher. And then just some other adult fantasy. It's just a mix of paperbacks basically. So, starting on the left-hand side, we have the romance books, another edition of the Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. I actually got this one before my husband got me that beautiful hardback edition. And then we have some Emily Henry books, and then a few different, well, not a few, just 2 different editions of the Shadow and Bone trilogy. We have some Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer, and then we have A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking. That book is the reason I always say Sanderson's Secret Project 2's title wrong. I always want to say A Wizard's Guide instead of A Wizard's Handbook. It's that book's fault. The Magician's Daughter, and then the paperback editions, the newer ones, for the Witcher series. And then also, to prove my point, that is usually where Luna ends up when I'm recording videos. Huh, Luna Beer? Yeah. This shelf is one of my favorites. I'm actually kind of sad that it's usually behind the chair, so you can't really see it, but I just like the combination of colors and the fact that so many of these hardbacks are kind of bulkier. But we have Winnowing Flame Trilogy, this is the Broken Binding editions, the Broken Binding editions of First Law by Joe Abercrombie, including now Best of Cold. I was saying earlier I'm waiting for the other ones for his standalones. She Who Became the Sun, Fairy Loot edition, and then I told you I have a lot. It's my guilty pleasure. I have a lot of the series. A lot. I know. And then we have Ariadne and Electra. I know there's a new Jennifer Saint one out, and I am interested in it. And I like these, and I feel like it's kind of unpopular. I feel like a lot of people don't really... I think people are much pickier than I am when it comes to retellings of Greek stories. But this is a different edition. Luna, it's fine. Shh. It's okay. This is a different edition than this one. When I ordered it, I didn't realize it was going to be shiny like this, but oh well, they're pretty. And then we have the Bear and the Nightingale, and then 2 more editions of Spinning Silver. Making our way up now. I also really like this shelf. I really like the way these look by each other. So these are some anniversary editions, I believe, of the Six of Crows duology as well as Shadow and Bone. I don't think they ever made the next 2 in this edition, which is unfortunate because I do really like how these look. Then we have the Goblin Emperor, the Broken Binding edition, and then as you can probably gather, the rest of this is primarily Sanderson hardbacks. So not too much elaboration there. I think that's pretty clear. Up here now we have hardcovers for The Shadow of the Fox. We have some Trisha Levenseller, who I always say is just, I don't know what it is, but when it comes to just put me in a good mood, fun, happy, cozy YA fantasy, I really like Trisha Levenseller. We will get to what I was talking about before, my annoyance from earlier. So I'll tell you about that in a second. This would be another Spinning Silver edition, one of my favorites actually. Then we get into some more Margaret Rogerson over here, the Queen of the Tearling trilogy. I haven't read the second and thirds, but I have read the first one here. And then we have the Book of Gothel, a standalone, mostly historical fiction with little sprinkles of fantasy story. We have some more Jennifer Saint. And then Prior of the Orange Tree, which I'm slowly making my way through, and then A Day of Fallen Night. Okay, are you ready to see what's so annoying about this? Okay, hold on. I'm short, and even this shelf is hard for me to reach. Okay, so here's the deal, all right? This artwork, this cover art, matches the cover art of the first one, hence why I bought it. I did not quite like that the first book and the second book were not going to match because they did a mid-series cover change. None of us like that. I feel so bad for the author because it is not her decision, and I can only imagine how aggravating that is. But regardless, this UK edition I saw did match the first, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll just order the UK hardback and it will match the US hardback because they didn't do a mid-series change. And then what happened? I got that one in the mail, discovered it is a totally different size by a lot. And so this is a really tall hardback and this is a shorter hardback. And I was very annoyed because I'd already purposefully gone out of my way to order this one. So the only one that's in the same size as this one is the cover art that doesn't match US edition. So I either just deal with them not matching, deal with them being different sizes, or I repurchase this one in this size. And I'm like, I don't even really like these covers. And I don't know if I'm gonna like the third one in this series. So, you know, bookish people problems, I guess. It's not really a big deal at all. It's just one of those, like, you know, those little things that are irksome. And then I know that's the next one, but I'm gonna go here. So I finally got my hands, after a long time of searching, for the hardback of Hunger of the Gods. And I can't find the first one in hardback that is under $300. And I'm like, I'm not paying $300. So anyway, that's the frustration with that. And that's why they're on different shelves. That's why Shadow of the Gods is over there and Hunger of the Gods is over here, because it's on the Orbit hardback shelf. But before we get into that, let's go up here. So this is, I have a hard time reaching this also, but this is the Harper Voyager shelf. So you have the Queen of Blood trilogy. The Queens of Renthia is the name of the trilogy. And I haven't read that continuation, but I plan to at some point. Queens of Innis Lear, which is a King Lear retelling. We have the Emperor in the Ashes quartet. This beautiful Illumicrate edition of Song of Silver Flame Like Night. It's so stupid how pretty it is. Then we have, sorry, I'm getting a little shaky here. Let me make sure I have two. We have Daughter of the Moon Goddess, then Amina al-Sarafi, the Fairy Loot edition, The Final Strife. I'm waiting to see how I feel about the Final Strife sequel, because I didn't love the first one, but I thought it had some promising elements to it. So we'll see how the sequel is. And then we have the Fairy Loot edition of Babel. And then now we can make our way to the Orbit UK shelf. The only one on this shelf that is not Orbit UK is obviously the Art of Prophecy, pretty clear by the fact that there's not an orbit symbol on the bottom. But we've already talked about Hunger of the Gods. Justice of Kings, I really enjoyed. Tyranny of Faith, I have yet to pick up. I really need to read it. I got sick the week I was planning to read it, and I haven't picked it up yet. And then we have the Witcher hardbacks, which are gorgeous. I love them. And then we have the Bone Shard Daughter, so the Drowning Empire trilogy. Ruination, which is in the League of Legends world. It's a really fun standalone. Stardust Thief. This is actually a Fairy Loot edition, but because it's by Orbit, it's on this shelf, plus there's no room over on the other Fairy Loot shelf. Emily Wilde Encyclopedia of Fairies. Pretty much same thing as what I was saying about that one. The Undertaking of Heart and Mercy. And then this is kind of just a random shelf with primarily special editions, which was not really intentional, kind of was an accident. But we have the Red Rising trilogy by Pierce Brown. These are the Juniper Books book sleeves. Then we have the Fairy Loot. The Red Rising trilogy is another one that I did an editions video for. Then we have the Legend Quartet, Lancelot and Camelot. I've read Lancelot, but not yet Camelot. So that's one of the few on the shelf I haven't picked up. These beautiful editions of the Scythe trilogy by Neil Shusterman. This is annoying me. I need to fix that. And then the Crown of Feathers trilogy. This is actually the Alcray edition, so they have pretty fancy sprayed edges. And then this edition of Shadow and Bone, which I think is beautiful, and I also don't know if they're ever going to continue the rest of the trilogy in that set. From there, we get into primarily UK editions, and then a couple of random other things mixed in. So we have a couple of T. Kingfisher's books over there. We have A House with Good Bones, and then also What Moves the Dead. Then we have my Polish Witcher editions. I love those editions. And then we have these newer editions of Starlight Archive that have been coming out, and I don't know what I'm gonna do when Oathbringer comes out because I won't have room. And then we have the 10th anniversary editions of Mistborn, as well as, I think these are an anniversary edition set of the First Law trilogy by Joe Abercrombie, and they're all really beautiful. And I think they weren't all that expensive. I thought they would have been so much more because they just look so nice. It's printed right on the hardback, but I was surprised that they really aren't treated like special editions. Anyway, scooting down to the shelf, we have some more manga. We have Vinland Saga. Love Vinland Saga. I love how bright and colorful this is, which is not really the case with the story. The story is not really bright and colorful. It's very sad and depressing, but very good. And then we have some alternate sleeves for this trilogy. I've read the first one and I need to continue on. All the Stars and Teeth duology, Belladonna by the same author, Adeline Grace.
And then if you could see the sun, just found out that the author is going to be writing another book in that, I guess you could say, almost world, which is really exciting. It's not coming out till, I think, 2026 though, so. And then down here we have a little bit of mix of things. There's a little gap over there for Threads of Power. Fingers crossed the UK editions aren't hideous like the remake of A Darker Shade of Magic. What is going on? The Darker Shade of Magic trilogy, which is another one I did an editions video for, it has just beautiful edition after beautiful edition. And then they're changing the original US copies, or covers I should say, to match the continuations copy. Why do I keep doing that? Cover? Sorry. And so the covers that they're redoing are nowhere near as beautiful as the originals. So I'm hoping that the UK ones will have the continuation, have some kind of similar design instead of redoing an already cool design. Anyway, that's besides the point. This is a lot of B.E. Schwab books. That's where I'm going with this. So I haven't read Addie LaRue yet. Ironic because I think it's one of her most popular. And then we have Ray Bear and Redemptor, a couple different editions of that duology. The UK of Nettle and Bone, and then we have the bookish box editions of The Bridge Kingdom, which I think are really, really beautiful editions. And that completes the bookshelf tour. We'll go through somewhat horizontally now so that you can see the consistency from one bookcase to the next when it comes to the way that the heights work with each other. Of course, there's a couple of exceptions here and there, but for the most part, pretty consistent. I like this method because, as I was saying, I like the consistency of the heights, but also you get a lot of works by the same publisher in the same area. You get a lot of things by the same author in the same area. And then to some degree, you have US and UK together, which is, I think, pretty fun, meaning US with other US, UK with other UK. And it also leads often to some of the foreign editions being mixed in, which I think is fun. And then, of course, having the manga together, for the most part anyway. I really like how that looks. Manga just looks so good on the shelf because they're consistent. They understand consistency. Anywho, getting back down now to the bottom, I also like that a lot of the US YA books and middle grade books are roughly the same height, so I like that there's a fair amount of consistency there as well. Man, I think consistency is the overused word of today's bookshelf tour, but I'm gonna go ahead and zoom out so you can get a view also of what many of them look like together. And there you go. I know a lot of you have been asking for a bookshelf tour, and in my head I'm like, this seems like it'd be so boring. So if you've watched all the way through this point, thank you. And Luna thanks you too. Look at how cute she is. She's a little wolf cub, little fox, little bear. That's it for my library room and bookshelf tour. A big thank you again to GlassesUSA.com for working with me, for continuing to work with me. I really, really appreciate it. Don't forget that you can get a great exclusive discount on top of any coupon code that they have for the next 24 hours just for you by clicking on the link at the top of my description bar. I hope you have a lovely, lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you later. Bye.